What up, martial arts people of the internet? Today we're watching Ramsey Du talking with Dr. Antonio Gracefo. I hope I spoke that out correctly. Can Shaolin monks actually fight? And this is something pretty interesting for me because I am a Shaolin Hunggar practitioner. I'm not going to the temple, so to speak. I'm in a traditional Kungfu school, but maybe I can give you my 5 cents to this talk. And I'm really looking forward to see what both of those are talking about, and maybe I can give you some value, and let's see what they're talking. Ramsey, I hope you don't mind if I take this video here from you to make a reaction. Let's go.
Tough guys, let's go back to Shaolin
Temple. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's
so people are going to think it was false advertising. I thought they were going to talk about the Shaolin Temple.
I know. I'm on the title of this podcast. I'm going to write, Antonio talks all about the Shaolin Temple. People are going to be like,
hours of Shaolin.
Yeah, I hope so. That would be pretty interesting.
So
I think the guy on the right side, not Ramsey, has been to the temple.
So these Shaolin monks, like in the Western mind, in America, we see them, we see these movies, we see these demos where they look like they're indestructible, magical people filled with chi energy that makes them invincible. And one of the most common questions is, are they really like that? If you took a Shaolin monk, one of these guys who's able to do these amazing demonstrations, feats of physical strength and skill or whatever, and put him in an MMA fight today,
he'd get killed.
Okay.
He would get killed, like instantly.
Yeah.
You can't.
I would say there's a little bit of takeoff. Not every monk. There's another channel, Ranchen. That's a German-speaking fellow, but he's doing videos in English, and he has visited the temple for, I think, 3 consecutive years. And he also has some insights about it. And what he says is that there are monks that can't fight, or they don't know how to fight. They're there for other reasons, maybe for the Buddhist studies, or just for form, so to speak. And there are also monks that, like, if you're not fighting, if you don't learn how to fight, you're not doing actual Kung Fu. So I think it's a little bit hard to say every monk can't fight, but maybe he's going a little bit into this.
Okay, I did martial arts odyssey. You know, I've been doing this for years, and I've trained with old men up on mountains, and I've trained in, you know, in paddy fields, and I've trained, and there is nothing out there. I will say it right now publicly. There is nothing else out there. There is no special. There is no magic. There is no guy in a cave with 3 students who can beat everybody in the world because they know the secret. There is no secret. The secret is you get up early in the morning, you run, then you lift weights, then you wrestle, then you work the pads, you know, and then you spar, and you get a jiu-jitsu.
You lift weights when you do martial arts. If you're not, then you're not doing the right martial arts.
Come on. Kids on the internet that Santa Claus isn't real.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I know. You don't know how much I came under attack. When my first book, The Monk from Brooklyn, right? I totally ripped the Shaolin Temple apart, right? And a lot of people hated me, and they were saying awful things about me, and I would always respond and go, oh, well, how long did you live there? How many of those guys did you fight? I mean, we sparred all the time. Those guys couldn't fight. How the hell are they going to fight? They're not fighting. How are they going to fight? You know? And who are they fighting with? They live on a mountain in freaking Henan province. Randy Couture's never been there. You know, Rico Rodriguez never went there.
They've probably never seen the UFC or even know what mixed martial arts is.
They didn't know back then. They didn't know what it was.
Yelong should go there somewhere.
That's
that,
they did.
Like Shaolin monk in, I think, the UFC. He's not an actual monk. He's like a Santa kickboxing guy, but he's dressing as a monk in the ring.
Camp at the Shaolin Temple. And the problem is the money, the cost. They go, what's the best place in the world for MMA camp? I go, Tiger Muay Thai. They go, how much is it? I go, all-inclusive is something like $1,000 a month for like full-time training, the best training in the world, and lodging. I think maybe that's not food.
1,000 is not that much. I think if you can manage to have like train with, or when you can afford to spend $1,000 a month with what you're doing, that's not that much. I would say. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Correct me. I don't know.
Shaolin, they wanted $1,000 a month now, just to go up there and live in like horrible, deplorable conditions, and train, you know, Kung Fu. And then if they're going to do MMA, they got to bring in, you know, Western trainers, and they're going to have to pay the money, and, you know.
That's going to look really weird to, you know, say an American who has this idea, like, I'm going to go train with the monks and gain magic powers, and then they go over there and there's like...
Yeah, that's so sad that this, like, mysticism came into it.
Them how to wrestle and box. They're like, wait, this isn't what I signed up for.
Both times I was up there, they had me teaching boxing. The second time, though, it was like relatively official. They're like, I actually had a time slot every night at 8:30, and I taught boxing.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So No,
And also, my own style, Hungar, is also often referred as Hungar boxing or Hungsboxing, because it's like literally just using fists. Almost. There are also some like leg sweeps or kicks, but they're just basic ones.
It's definitely changed. Like, to their credit, my experience in 2013 was so much better in a way than my one in 2003, because they just understood the world so much more. First of all, every kid in Shaolin had a smartphone.
Oh, wow.
And they have Wi-Fi.
Interesting.
One of the funny
that's the way
things
to
when
the
I was in
world,
Shaolin
man.
in 2013 was they would have their training, and then before the monk would dismiss them, he would give them homework assignments. And their homework assignment was to go online, find a particular form, and like learn it, like from their phone, and then come in tomorrow and like be trained on it. So that was really cool.
So
Whoa,
all these
interesting.
kid monks
Using
up
the
in
new
Shaolin Temple,
technology
do they
to
have,
make
like,
stuff work, okay?
Like WeChat accounts or Douyin or anything? Any of those Chinese social media where they can actually post videos of their training? Or
they all have WeChat, and they all had WeChat, and they were on Yoku, and they would find their video lessons, and they would train with their video stuff as well as their physical. So that was cool. And when I lived there in 2003, almost nobody spoke Mandarin. Or I won't say almost nobody. I would just say that there was definitely like a Shaolin Hua, like they had their own language. And
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't
students
know
were
that.
from all over, and they all spoke different dialects.
I thought they were all
wind up with,
talking
like, this
Mandarin.
Shaolin.
At least in
Like, the
my
same
like
way the
school
US Army
is
has a
the terms
southern
are
accent.
in Mandarin, I think.
It's the same kind of thing.
That explains so much. Hold on, I'm going to turn the contrast up a little on this. Here.
But when I went back in 2013, everybody spoke Mandarin.
That's better.
They knew what the UFC was. They were asking me to help start MMA. So it was a very different world when I went back 2013. 2003, though, it was like I was the only foreigner. I was the only foreigner they'd ever seen. I slept in the temple. To my knowledge, and I don't know how true this is, I was the only foreigner who slept in the temple.
Yeah, that's...
And
2003, did you say? Yeah, man, 20 years ago.
Before Matthew Polly's book came out. Matthew Polly wrote American Shaolin.
Well, so you actually stayed inside the temple. I remember watching. There's a popular YouTube video about this guy. This guy who went over and trained at Shaolin, but he specifically noted they didn't let outsiders in there.
Yeah, 2013.
I think now he's
went
talking
back,
about Rand now.
The Westerners.
Yeah, 2013 when I went back would have been impossible. 2003, everything was so kind of loose. They did. First of all, 2003, it was not a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Wow. So when I got to Shaolin Temple, I flew to Henan. I got the only taxi in Henan that was licensed to take foreigners. I paid him money.
Oh, wow,
he drove
man.
me from the airport.
It was so strict back then.
Shaolin
That's
Temple.
crazy, man.
Yeah.
We got to the gate of Shaolin, and I knocked on it was like Kwai Chang Caine. It was at night. The gate was locked.
Yeah.
And I knocked on the gate till a monk in robes came and opened it, and I'm like, I want to
It's got to be surreal.
It was insane. It was that part of my experience was exactly like the movie. It was exactly like the. If you ever seen the original pilot episode of Kung Fu, the TV show?
Kung Fu, yeah.
That's what it was
David
like.
Carradine. Wow.
Yeah, so I slept in the temple for a bunch of nights, and then the monks came to me and they go, "Oh, do you like it here?" I go, "Oh yeah, I really like it here." And they're like, "Oh, you want to train?" "Yeah, okay. Well, give us." They wanted some insane amount of money. In 2003, China was poor.
So you're saying that the Shaolin Temple is a for-profit organization?
Oh my God, they want to make money. Oh no, they're not giving stuff for free.
And I didn't want to pay them that amount of money. They wanted to.
I don't get it, because people think everything is for free. With social media, especially with YouTube, you have so much content for free. You can learn so much stuff. You can learn new skills for free. And then when you go to a person and you want to learn something from that person, you expect them subconsciously also to be free. And what do you think the other person is going to make a living out of it? Because when you be good at it, you need to invest time, and time is money in our world. We need to have we need to get money from somewhere to put our interests and our skills into somewhere else that we can invest the time to become good. And that's what he's saying. Maybe it's too much money, yes, but for martial arts schools like seminars or teachings, why the fuck do you think that should be for free? Your teacher also needs to make a living out of it. And if he can't make a living out of it, he's he's maybe not that invested in teaching you because he needs to work another job. So his focus is somewhere else. So maybe that's something. I'm not saying you should buy every price and you should go for every ticket and so on. Maybe just give it a thought also in this direction.
Some crazy amount of money, and I was like, no, I'm not going to pay you that. They go, well, how much do you want to pay? I said $200 a month, and at that time the average income in China was probably like $600 a year or something, like $200
so
a
that
month
was insane.
and I was willing to pay 200. He goes, okay, I'll see if I can find you a discount monk.
A discount monk.
He found me a discount monk. So I went and lived with the discount monk, but then I slept outside the gate.
Oh wow. Yeah, it's always astounding me how like so many people in China and just like yeah, just assume that Americans have like way more money than we generally have.
Yeah,
it's the same for Switzerland.
Yeah,
I'm coming from Switzerland. People think that we are like Bill Gates walking in around the street.
$500 for this. It's a T-shirt. Are you kidding me?
It's really not.
They give you a special discount price, $499.
Well, what I told the guy in 2013 when he was asking me about starting the MMA program there, and of course my Chinese language skill was much higher in 2013, but I said to him, I said, look, I said, you have to understand, we pay more for things because the quality is infinitely better. I go, this accommodation that you got me,
it's also 2013 was. It's also in the supplement industry. You pay for what you get. When you buy a cheap supplement, you will get poor quality most of the time. If you pay for one, then you will get one. So 1 + 1 is always going to be 2. You can expect for 4, maybe 10, maybe 12, maybe 120. Maybe you get it. Most of the time, 99% of the time, I would say you won't.
It was so much better. 2003, there were 60 people living in one house. There were no showers, and there was one outhouse, a one-hole outhouse out back. And there were 60 people, right? When I lived there in 2013, we were like, foreigners lived like 2 or 3 to a room. Chinese kids lived like 6 to a room. And there were 2 showers and 2 toilets, Western toilets, like in the building. You know, it's very different. We had Wi-Fi, we had air conditioning.
That's a massive difference.
Very different experience. But even that, I said to him, I go, look, this isn't worth $1,000. This is worth $1,000 because it's the Shaolin Temple and it's a cool experience. But
but it's about the experience. So it's maybe like
and then I told him,
buying an Adidas shoe or a Nike shoe.
Well,
so you pay for the brand, and I think that's also what's happening with the Shaolin Temple. You pay for the word Shaolin because it's so blown up, it's so influential, and people who have never like experienced or spent considerable amount of time, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years in martial arts, also in different martial arts, not just in like a traditional kung fu school, they will explore that it's so blown up, this term, and you can, it's about making money because you need to make a living out of it somehow. And
I mean, they got, teachers from all over the world, and, so that's a big thing that I was trying to educate people on here. I'm like, yes, we pay more for stuff in America, but then we're very demanding about the quality.
Yeah. Indeed, man. So now we mentioned that if one of these monks, one of these Shaolin monks fought in the UFC, he'd just get killed right away, right? How good are they actually at hand-to-hand combat?
Zero. Come on, man. They're not doing any fighting. How are they going to fight? They're really good at performance forms, and there is almost no connection between performance forms and fighting, except that I think it's a really good base. Like I said, like my friends that learned that as children were so much better as Sanda fighters or wrestlers. A few of the wrestlers came out of that background, which was really cool too. Right. They're so much more flexible.
Yeah, if you know how to move, if you're more athletic, you'll be better at learning how to fight. Yeah. But you have to learn how to fight. But you have to learn how to fight.
And you probably have to learn before you're too old. Like, I don't think that you could take, because like at the sports university, one of my friends that was a wushu major, he's already at the sports university. So I mean, he's already like in his 20s. He's been doing this his whole life. He wants to be a fighter. And I'm telling him, his name was Mars. I'm like, Mars, there's no way you're going to be a fighter. You can't do it. I go, can you hold a man down and hit him in the face with your elbow till he bleeds enough that they stop the fight? And also Mars happened to weigh like 80 kgs. I go, Mars, you're going to be fighting guys that look like me. You have no muscle tone. But anyway, they couldn't fight. And then they do those demos at Shaolin. They do a lot of stuff where they break things, with their hand. But we know this has nothing to do with fighting. Yeah. The Dog Brothers, those two guys, they are like, I've seen them in interviews actually say that. They're like, look, my brother and I are arguably the best people in the world at breaking stuff to our hands and our faces and whatever he goes, but it doesn't translate to fighting. I've actually heard them say stuff like that.
That's an interesting concept, and I think it's also a huge debate if training forms is good for fighting. So I would say there's like two-sided medal. So when you only train forms, you're never going to be a fighter, because when you, for example, in boxing, when you only do the speed bag, you're never going to be a good fighter, a good boxer, but it's a tool. So when you see forms as a tool, maybe what I like to see is forms is like shadow boxing, but in a sequence. So in order to like drill some of the techniques, you take the form apart and you go for like 1 or 2 steps or 1 or 2 sequences, and you train those, and you train those again and again and again and again, how you would do it with a shadow boxing or with the speed bag maybe. So the speed bag has some other like applications like coordination, eye to hand coordination and so on, but you have to understand that forms is not how people fight. Also in my Kung Fu school, we don't fight like we do forms. That's ridiculous, because fighting doesn't look like that. If you ever have been in a fight, in a real full contact fight, you will experience it very fast, and it can be devastating, because what you have been doing the last years, you realize, or you start to realize that, man, that shit doesn't work like that. There is something else. The thing that is you have to take it apart and then learn how to apply it with non-resisting partners in sparring, and that's what a lot of Kung Fu schools should be doing. I'm so lucky that we have once a week a sparring or a fighting training where we would go for like 10-15 minutes. In the beginning, we do some technical stuff, and then just 2-minute rounds. Everybody with everybody, also with the instructors, with the trainers, everybody 2-minute rounds, and then experience, learn, try new things out. This is what you need to be doing when you want to like use traditional martial arts for fighting. You can do traditional martial arts for like other stuff, that's pretty fine, okay? The last one who's going to say like, don't move, man, go and move if that's fun for you. Do Wing Chun, Taekwondo, Karate, whatever. But you have to spar with non-resisting opponents. You have to take blows, you have to take punches to the head. And that's what's going to make you wake up. Believe me.
Oh man, it's absolutely true. Man, before I did any professional fights, way before that, I did Taekwondo board and brick breaking demos all the time. I could smash stacks of bricks. Not the fake kind,
it's kind of cool.
The real kind, construction grade bricks with my elbows and my palms and forearms and stuff.
I cannot do that, but
those
I also don't
cool.
want to do it. Well, I want to do it, but I don't want to train for it.
Psychologically, to be able to break a stack of bricks. But then to go from that to fighting a guy who knows how to box a little bit, not even a lot, just a little bit, and you can't touch him, man, that is such a humbling experience.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Breaking power means nothing without the position.
When I think back to the 70s and 80s, all the fights that I had, and the number of those fights that I won just on pure boxing, just on knowing how to box, and you could beat essentially almost any martial artist unless they caught you. Like Taekwondo has that spinning back kick that's like one of their best things. Yeah. He's running backwards, and then he does the spinning back kick and hits you in the abdomen. Like, unless he gets that, maybe a head kick knockout, but that's it. If they didn't get that, like, they lost. And they also didn't train the way we did. They didn't do rounds. They didn't do 3-minute rounds. They weren't running every day. They weren't lifting weights. They weren't doing all the other things that fighters do. And yeah, so I look at that.
So I'm apparently already training as a fighter, except for I hate fucking running, man. I don't want to run. I don't know if you feel the same, but lifting weights, man, big time into it. Just hit my PR last week in bench press, 102 kilos. My squat is at around 5 reps for 140, 1 rep maybe 160, and my deadlift is at 180. So there is another guy, is a Wing Chun, who is former police officer. I watched some of his videos. He made a really interesting video why Wing Chun doesn't work, and he said, when he showed us some footage of a really jacked fellow, like training hardcore, lifting weights, all this stuff. If you think that you're like soft bong sao or tan sao or all the other bridge hands or other traditional techniques are called, if you think you can make it work when you're standing like in front of somebody like me, or maybe somebody even taller and more muscle, and I'm throwing a punch at you with the intent to fucking kill you, then you are ridiculous. Because muscle mass, strength, flexibility, endurance, muscle endurance is never going to be a disadvantage. So if your trainer says to you, you don't need to lift weights, he is fucking lying to you, and you should get out of there. And yes, I'm drastic now, but that's important.
And then I go from there to Shaolin Temple, and I'm like, it's the same thing. It's these guys are on this mountain doing this martial arts stuff that's got nothing to do with anything. And sometimes they would tell us like, oh, we want you to run up and down the mountain. And I'm like, why? Why? Are you fighting? Are you training for a fight? Like, what are you going to do with this cardio that you're allegedly building by running up and down the mountain? You're going to go do a demo? You're going to break a brick?
Oh, man. That's a good point, man. Because it feels good to run up and down a mountain.
I feel like I'm pooping on Santa Claus. I'm sorry. Can I say that? I'm sorry. I feel like I'm pooping on somebody's dreams here.
You are pooping on a lot of people's dreams right now.
Yeah, I think so too.
Anytime on my YouTube channel, when I point out the reality of fighting, people get mad.
Yeah.
I mean, they get mad. Fighting is, I mean, it's nasty, it's brutish, it's hard. Not everybody can do it. Not just physically, but psychologically. Like you mentioned, that question you asked that kid, can you hold a man down and drop elbows on his face until he's done? And there is that huge physical aspect. Are you physically able to do it? But psychologically, can you pull the trigger? Can you put yourself in a dark enough place where it doesn't matter if you mess that guy up?
Or it doesn't matter how hard you get hit.
Yeah.
That's why I feel
also
grateful that my first martial art really was boxing, and that I took so many beatings because I wasn't gifted, athletically, and I'm small, and and I've been in the heavyweight division since I was 20, and for the folks at home, I'm only 5'7", so I'm the shortest guy in the heavyweight division, right? And growing up, I took so many beatings, and it just taught you
and the height difference, man. I had it in my
leaking
I
blood.
experienced it last weekend when I fought a guy that was a little bit higher or a little bit taller than me and 10 kilos heavier. I was more athletic for sure. The height and weight differences, that really makes something. That makes a difference. There is a good reason why there are weight classes in like UFC, karate, combat, and so on and so on. That's really something we need, I need to work for.
But you know what? You're not knocked out, so you don't quit, and you keep fighting, and you wind up winning the fight.
The lights are still on, so you keep going.
You just keep going, And when you watch, this is another one, because I'm watching Fight Pass so much, but how many fights where the referee steps in to stop the fight because the guy is essentially knocked out, and he immediately grabs the ankle of the opponent. Like it's that will, like that fighter's completely unconscious. He's still fighting.
Yeah, the muscle memory's still going on autopilot.
And you don't have that when you're on the mountain up in Henan breaking bricks with your fist, or doing demos with your willing students.
There's the other podcast. Maybe we should watch this as well, and that's really interesting. So that's it with the video. What do you think? Can Shaolin monks actually fight, or is there a possibility that Kung Fu can make it to fighting? And if you want to see actual Kung Fu, traditional Hunggar Kung Fu, how it's applied in sparring and fighting, then here is a video you should watch next, and I see you there. Let's go out there and train. To say it with Ramsey's words. Bye.